Have you ever wondered why wealth seems to recognize some people the moment they decide to change, while others struggle endlessly despite effort and talent? Because from the first breath of understanding, you must know that money is not chance, but obedience to unseen order, and this truth quietly waits for those ready to listen. The universe moves with exact intelligence, responding not to desire alone, but to the quality of thought, spoken word, and inner agreement. And when a person aligns these forces, abundance responds as naturally as echo answers a voice. Every prosperous life is shaped by invisible laws that never argue, never hesitate, and never fail. And these laws reward clarity, while confusion dissolves opportunity. Many believe wealth is inherited, stolen, or randomly gifted. Yet the deeper law reveals that supply follows consciousness, and consciousness is trained by daily assumptions repeated until they harden into fact. When thought is disciplined, words become commands, and faith becomes a bridge over all limitation, a bridge few dare to cross because it demands responsibility rather than hope. Here lies the first awakening, that you are not begging life, but issuing instructions through belief, and life, obedient servant, responds exactly. In the middle of this realization, doubt often appears wearing the mask of logic, whispering that spiritual law is poetic fiction, yet this whisper is the final test before power reveals itself. Those who retreat here return to effort and strain, while those who persist discover that unseen forces rearrange visible circumstances with astonishing speed. The law does not ask where you started, how little you have, or how many times you failed, because it recognizes only alignment, and alignment begins with the quiet decision to think differently now. Words spoken casually are seeds planted carelessly, while words spoken with conviction are seeds pressed deep into fertile ground, and the harvest never questions the planter. Faith is not blind wishing, but calm certainty, the kind that rests even before evidence appears, and this certainty activates channels previously closed by fear. Wealth then moves toward you through expected and unexpected paths, through ideas, meetings, timing, and favor, because supply is fluid and loyal to belief. When you understand this, struggle loses authority, effort softens into inspired action, and life begins to cooperate instead of resist. This first law quietly announces that nothing external must change before prosperity begins, because the command was always internal, waiting for recognition. It teaches that acceptance of this principle reshapes identity, and identity governs behavior, expectation, and reception, making wealth a natural outcome rather than distant dream. As attention shifts inward, resistance dissolves. Gratitude replaces fear, and the mind becomes a disciplined garden where only chosen ideas grow, ensuring results that match intention. Suspense builds because the listener senses a greater revelation approaching, one that challenges habit, comfort, and old identity, yet promises freedom beyond struggle, proving that unseen law is nearer than effort, quieter than desire, and more reliable than chance itself, preparing you for mastery. As understanding deepens, a subtle tension arises within the mind because the old pattern resists replacement, and this is where many unknowingly reverse the very law they seek to use, for the universe reflects inner contradiction with perfect accuracy. The second movement of this teaching reveals that belief without consistency fractures power, and scattered thought produces scattered results, no matter how sincere the intention. Every prosperous outcome is preceded by mental order, where thought, emotion, and expectation move in one direction without argument. When a person affirms abundance, yet secretly rehearses loss, the law pauses, not as punishment, but as precision, waiting for clarity. This pause creates suspense in life, moments where progress seems near yet delayed, teaching discipline through discomfort. The universe is exacting and will not be rushed by impatience or emotional urgency because it responds to certainty, not pressure. At this stage, silence becomes as important as speech, for inner conversations shape results faster than public declarations. Fear disguised as realism becomes the final obstacle, convincing the mind to accept limitation as wisdom, yet this belief quietly dissolves the very channels it seeks to protect. Those who pass this inner threshold learn to replace reaction with assumption, choosing outcomes before circumstances appear. The law then begins to operate invisibly, rearranging conditions behind the scenes, while the outer world appears unchanged, testing faith through stillness. Many abandon the process here, mistaking quiet for failure, unaware that movement is already occurring beneath the surface. Faith matures when it no longer demands signs, because signs are effects, not causes. As expectation stabilizes, intuition sharpens, guiding action without strain, and effort transforms into alignment rather than struggle. The individual begins to notice coincidences, timely ideas, and openings that feel natural, yet these are not accidents, but confirmations of internal order. Wealth responds to this harmony not as reward, but as agreement, flowing toward the mental pattern that matches its nature. The law also removes what contradicts the new assumption, which may feel like loss, but is actually correction, clearing space for greater expression. Emotional attachment to old outcomes weakens power, while calm confidence accelerates manifestation. This phase teaches patience without passivity, action without force, and trust without blindness. The listener feels suspense because comfort dissolves, while results have not yet appeared, creating a moment of decision where identity must be chosen. To continue is to accept authorship of experience, and to retreat is to return to familiar limitation. The universe observes without judgment, responding instantly once alignment becomes stable, preparing the mind for the final revelation where law becomes habit and abundance becomes normal. Now the final truth unfolds with quiet authority, revealing that once law becomes habit, effort disappears, and life moves with graceful certainty, because the universe responds most powerfully to those who no longer question their right to receive. At this level, wealth is no longer chased, imagined, or hoped for, but calmly expected as the natural extension of inner agreement. The mind trained in law does not react to appearances, because appearances are temporary echoes of past thinking, and the disciplined consciousness refuses to bow to delayed reflections. Here, faith is no longer emotional excitement, but steady knowing, the kind that remains unmoved even when circumstances suggest contradiction. The individual understands that lack is not an enemy, but a signal, pointing to an assumption ready to be corrected. This mastery dissolves anxiety, because fear cannot survive where law is understood, and peace becomes the foundation of prosperity. The universe now cooperates openly, not mysteriously, arranging people, opportunities, and timing with effortless precision, while the mind rests instead of strains. Words spoken from this state carry authority because they are no longer arguments with reality, but confirmations of truth already accepted. Gratitude deepens not because things arrived, but because alignment is complete, and this gratitude multiplies results without effort. The greatest suspense resolves here, as the listener realizes that destiny was never external, and fortune was never selective, but obedience to law was always the deciding factor. Identity shifts fully, no longer seeing oneself as seeker, but as channel, through which abundance flows naturally to bless others as well. This understanding removes guilt around wealth, replacing it with purpose, because supply is recognized as spiritual circulation rather than personal gain. The mind becomes calm, the speech deliberate, and expectation stable, creating a continuous rhythm of receiving. Challenges may still appear, but they no longer intimidate, because law has proven itself repeatedly, dissolving doubt through experience. Wealth remains loyal to this consciousness, because consciousness is its true home, and where alignment remains, flow continues. This final awareness seals the teaching, showing that nothing was missing except understanding, nothing was delayed except recognition, and nothing was denied except by unconscious resistance. As this truth settles, the listener feels empowered rather than excited, grounded rather than rushed, knowing that law works quietly, faithfully, and without exception for those who apply it. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.